Welcome to this tutorial on how to use Software Informer's Translations Contributors interface. This is the reserved list, and here is where we start to work on our translations. When you find a program whose review you think you might be interested in translating, you can either reserve it directly from here by clicking on this link, or you can take a look at it first, check its contents, the amount of money that you will be getting for the work, and then reserve it from here by clicking on this link, which will take you directly to the translation form. This is what the translation form of Software Informer's Contributors interface looks like. The first thing you need to know is the components that make up the interface and how to navigate through it using the hotkeys that come with it. On the top side of the interface, you have this black menu bar where you find from left to right an arrow to go back to the main interface and the name of the program whose review you'll be translating. If you click on it, it'll take you to the page about this program at the Software Informer's website. Here in the middle of the menu, you have a progress bar that will tell you how far you are in the translation, and the Approve button, which will remain inactive until you reach 100% in the progress bar, that is, until the translation is not finished. This Abandon button here on the right will let you drop the translation and send it back to the reservation list so that some other contributor can translate it. Now, if you click on this interrogation mark here, a menu will open showing you all the shortcuts that you can use to write your translation and to move around the interface quicker and more efficiently. You also have a link here to a more complete help file that will explain you all about the translations interface. On the right end of the menu bar, we have a link to the menu bar of the main interface. On the left-hand side of the form, we have this small window with an automatically generated translation, a machine translation of the sentence that you have selected. You can use this translation as a basis for your translation. Every now and then you will find that some sentences have been translated correctly by the machine, but that's very rare. To use this text, all you need to do is click on the box or use any of the shortcuts provided. You can resize this window and you can move it around so that it doesn't interfere with your translation or your workspace. So now that we know our way through the translation form, we can start working on the translation proper. The first entry is always the program's name. When needed, this name should be translated into the target language or transliterated into the words that you would use to search for it on the web. In this case, it will be left untouched, so we can use our shortcut to bring the name of the program and click Enter to save it and move to the next sentence. Other English words or technical terms that are frequently used in this context, such as IP, Windows, web, etc., are also left as they are. You see here how as soon as you click on an entry, the corresponding machine translation appears in the box. If you like what you see here, you can transfer it to the corresponding field with a hotkey or by clicking on the box as we've seen before. Or you can just leave it there merely as a reference for your own translation. Translations need to sound natural in the target language, and that's why most machine translations will usually be discarded. Because the task is not about fine-tuning the machine translation so that it looks right and sounds about right. Your task is to translate the review retaining the meaning, the tone, the clarity, and the substance of the original text. To do that, you can simplify the text, rephrase it, divide it into smaller sentences, merge short sentences into a large one, anything that makes the translated text sound natural in your language. At the same time, you have to respect the grammar and the syntax of the target language and abide to its rules. You can also see here, and this happens very frequently, that some sentences appear more than once in the text. In this case, this sentence appears twice in the review. When this happens, you will only have to translate the sentence once, as the form will fill in any other occurrences automatically with the same text. So we can start the translation right now. You see that we are leaving all these technical words in English. These are proper names and don't need to be translated. We click enter, go to the next one. Okay. Here the text plays with two senses of the word free, so we have to do our best to translate it in a way that retains this wordplay in the target language. As we said, we have to keep the meaning and the tone of the original text. And here, what we are going to do is to merge two small sentences because it sounds more natural in the target language. So we move to the next one and write them in a way that looks like just one sentence. We have to use the polite sense of you when we are translating. Okay, so we follow with this third paragraph. retrieve that and translate it. And the same with these programs' names. Okay. Alright, so we go to the next section, which is the tiny description. And to the pros. And finally, the cons. Okay, and so we have completed the translation. You can see up here that we have reached 100% and that the approve button is now active. But because there is no spell checker in this form and we are all human, it is always a good idea to review your translation before sending it for approval. That will save time both to the person checking it and yourself. When you finally send it for approval, you will be informed about what you just have done, and you can then go back to the main interface to check that your translation is queued up in the Waiting for Approval tab. This is the end of our tutorial. Hope things are clearer now. Goodbye.